Hello and welcome to another first look live walkthrough of the latest Elementor beta release. My name is Ash and I am the Global Community Content Manager here at Elementor, and I'm joined today in the chat, both on Facebook and in YouTube as well, by several of my colleagues. So if you have any questions about this release, please feel free to ask away. So we have a lot to cover today, so we really should get started. However, before I begin, I must stress that this is a beta release, which means it is not for production websites and should only be used in a testing environment. So with that out of the way, let's get started and let's find out what we're going to be looking at today. So just bear with me, guys, while I rearrange my screens. Okay. So Elementor 3.13 beta includes Elementor AI. I know we're all excited about this one. Okay. And we will take a look at what is available with that shortly. The beta release does include a free trial for you all to test this out. So please download it, test it out, and let us know how it goes. Okay, as much information as you can provide us as possible will eventually make us, will eventually help us with a better product in the end there. So test it out. We'll be taking a look at that soon. We'll then take a look at the CSS Grid. So this is the first phase of CSS Grid, which is incredibly exciting. Okay, and used in conjunction with Flexbox Container, you know, the possibilities really are going to be endless here. After that, we're going to take a look at the menu widget and some improvements that have been made there. We'll then take a look at the next phase of the interface revamp. So the top bar has had some additions added to it. We now have new excerpt controls in the loop, which is exciting. We've got an expansion on the color picker. The favorites panel has had an amendment as well, which we'll explore. There's been several performance improvements. If you are a developer who uses Composer for automation, it now works with Elementor Pro. So it used to only work with the free version of Elementor, but now it works with Pro as well. So super exciting for anybody that uses Composer. And finally, we have a ton of accessibility improvements. Okay, and I encourage you to head on over to the GitHub blog post, okay, where you can read all about those accessibility improvements. So without further ado, I'm just going to check that my screens are sharing okay. I believe they are. Here we are in the Elementor dashboard. So the first thing we are going to take a look at today is Elementor AI. Now, this is built into the core product, okay? It doesn't need to be switched on for you to use it. It's just there if you're using beta 3.13, okay? Or obviously if you're watching this video later on or above. Now, let's take a look at how it works. I'm going to open up my home page. Let's just do this in a new tab. And the Elementor AI works currently in 4 locations. So it works in any widget that has a content area. So for example, this heading at the top here, if I select this heading has a content area like so. And because of that, we see this Write with AI option. If I select the text box underneath, you'll see the Write with AI option there as well. Okay, so any widget where we have somewhere where we can type content, you will see the Write with AI option there. The next location is in the HTML widget. So if I just search for this and then drop it into my page, okay, you'll see the Code with AI option. So obviously this is a code block, so it says code rather than write. The third location is in the custom CSS. So this is true if you're using Elementor Pro. So again, I'm going to select this text box here. And if I go to the Advanced tab and then scroll down to custom CSS, we see the Code with AI option just here. And then the fourth and final location, I'm going to jump back into the dashboard and then go to Elementor custom code. And if I add a new custom code, will see the write me code option just here. So they are the 4 locations where you can currently generate AI related content within Elementor. So if I jump back into the home page now, we'll get rid of that HTML box for the time being. Let's test it out and see how it works. So it's super simple and easy to use. Okay, and the first time that you click this, okay, you will be prompted to read and accept the terms and conditions. Now, I've already done that, so you didn't see that just then. But if you're happy with those and you accept them, okay, this is the interface that you're going to see initially. So this is for content, okay? As you can see, it is in beta, so it's a work in progress. Okay, so again, use it, test it, provide feedback for us. Okay, the more feedback we get, the better this product will be at the end of the day. We see an upgrade option. Okay, there's a little bit of info there right now. The link will take you to the AI page on our website. Okay, we will update all of this information in due course once we know exactly how this is going to progress. And yeah, basically we're asked to enter a prompt. Okay, so we have an empty text box at the top here where we can type anything we like. And we also have suggested prompts. Now, these are incredibly helpful. Okay, I've been using these a lot. They're a really good starting point if you're not too sure what to ask AI. If you've been using AI for a while, you've probably got a pretty good idea, okay, about what you want to ask it. But if you're new to this, all right, use these suggested prompts. They're incredibly helpful. So this title is our H1 heading. So it's the most prominent and the most important heading on our page. And this happens to be the home page as well. So especially important. So let's see what suggested prompts we have. So we have craft a catchy slogan, write a strong section header, create a blog title. I like this last one, write an attention-grabbing title for. And this website, it's definitely a work in progress, but it's a blog for web creators. Okay, so it consists of numerous articles about web design and development and creation. So I'm going to add to this, so write an attention-grabbing title for my blog about web creation. Now, once I'm happy with my prompt, I'm going to select generate text. And we're just going to give this a few seconds to come up with something. And as we can see, it's come up with the suggestion of unleashing the power of web creation, the secrets to building striking and user-friendly websites. Okay, so say, for example, we're happy with that. Okay, we're just going to say use text. And that's it. How easy was that? It's just inserted that suggestion into our widget. But actually, I think it might be a little bit too long. So let's go back. Okay, so with the edit icon, right with AI, and you can see now that we have the text. Okay, the text is in this text box here. Now we can amend this with some prompts down the bottom here. So as you can see, we have a simplify language option, and make it longer, make it shorter option, and fix spelling and grammar. We also can change the tone, and we can translate it to a different language. Now, I think that we should probably simplify this. So let's see what happens when we simplify. So make amazing websites easily. Learn how to build impressive and easy to use websites. I like that. So let's use that. Let's insert that. And that's a little bit snappier. It's a little bit shorter as well. So let's move on to the next bit. So the next part is our intro paragraph. So again, we'll select the edit icon. Then in the content tab, we'll write with AI. And let's see what prompts we have here. So it has, it's amended the prompts because we're now in the text editor instead of the header. So write a product description, create a blog post, craft an about us section, offer a few sentences to invite visitors to. I think that one's probably most suitable. So let's use that. So offer a few sentences to invite visitors to read my articles about web creation. Let's see what the AI comes up with here. We kind of want, I say, maybe like a paragraph of text, I think would be ideal, something not too long. This looks a little bit too long, but let's read. Looking to create a new website, but not sure where to begin. Yeah, the content looks good, but it's definitely too long. So let's use the make it shorter option. And let's see what happens here. Boost your web creation skills with my articles. Discover practical tips. This is better. Yeah. okay, let's stick with this one, but let's change the tone. So let's change it to a, what should we do? What should we do? Which one haven't I used before? Let's go straightforward. Let's see what happens here. This might not be the right tone for this type of website, but we're just, my articles can help you enhance your web creation skills. It's a little bit too direct, actually. Let's change it again. Let's go for friendly. Always friendly. Let's see what this comes up with. Hi there, I'd like to share some resources. It's okay. I don't really like the hi there. Let's make it shorter. Let's see if it removes that and see what happens. So you can see it's really easy to just chop and change. Okay, this content, we can manually adjust stuff as well if we would like to. Here we go. Now we're talking. Discover how to improve your web creation skills with my practical tip. That I like this. This is good. Let's use this. So use text. And there we go. That we've created our first header, our H1, and also our intro paragraph of text there as well. Let's move on to some AI generated code now. So this is probably what a lot of people are super excited about, including myself. Let's do something to this header here. So we'll select the edit icon. And this time we're going to go to advanced, and then we're going to go to custom CSS. And we're going to write code with AI. Okay, so obviously because we're coding now, the prompts are different. So the suggested prompts, we have the first one. So on hover, animate 20% bigger and rotate 10 degrees counterclockwise. Let's see what happens when we do that. So we'll add in, or sorry, we'll generate some CSS. So what has it done? It's generated just a pseudo hover state with a transform and transition. It's pretty simple. Oh, there we go. And there we are. So the text on hover, we would need to add something. So it's only got ease at the moment, so we'd need to go ease in, ease out, so that it was subtle when you came off it as well. But as you can see, that's really quick and easy to just add some custom CSS there. Let's try something else. Let's see what else it can do. I think there's like I tried this one earlier and it was great. So rainbow colored animated text gradient. Let's generate the code for this and see what it does. And we will be releasing lots more content around AI soon, okay, where we will be providing prompts for you to use, okay? So look out for future content, and we'll be sure to provide as much value as we can with these prompts for the AI. So let's have a look what it's created here. So it's targeting the header, the heading even with linear gradient, and then the colors of the rainbow, okay? And then we've got keyframes for the animation, I assume. So let's insert and see what happens. That's not quite the desired result we want, and it's certainly not the result that I had earlier. So let's delete that, and let's just try again quickly. Let's see if it does something different this time. It definitely gave me a much better result earlier on. And if you've used AI tools, you'll notice that every time you enter a prompt, it does give you a slightly different result each time. I think that's actually the same code, but oh, no, there we go. It's definitely, well, it's working differently. So this is actually what I wanted to see. So as you can see, we've got the rainbow colors and then the animation of the text all changing. So super quick and easy to apply these styles. The last one in the editor here I want to show you is the HTML widget. So let's drop that in. So we've generated content, we've generated CSS. Let's now generate some HTML. So with the widget inserted into the page, let's select code with AI, and we have all of the suggested prompts, but let's try something custom this time. And I'm going to try something that I haven't tried before, so this could go horribly wrong. Let's give it some instructions. So bear with me while I type this out. So let's say create a button which says, please click me. And then let's say when hovered over, expand 20% in width. I'm going to just add in a few really kind of bizarre prompts here. Expand 20% in width. And then let's say change the text to please click me. We'll put that in caps so that it really stands out. Okay, so let me just check this. Create a button which says please click me When hovered over, expand 20% in width, change the text to please click me. I haven't specified any colors, but it's probably just going to pull in some default ones. Let's generate some code. Let's see what it does. I've not tried this yet, so we could see some different results. We'll just give it a few seconds. So it's created the HTML for a button. It's got a transition effect in it. Let's just insert the code and see what it does. Doesn't look quite right there. We definitely need to adjust it there. But what happens when we hover over? There we go. There we go. The text changes. The width increases. I forget now, was it 30%? It definitely needs some adjustments. But as you can see, we've really quickly created an interactive button, okay, using an AI prompt that needs some work for sure, but it's definitely a good starting point. So the final part of AI that I would like to show you, I'm going to just get rid of this and just save my changes, is we're going to go back into the custom code, which is built into Elementor Pro. We're going to use the write me code prompt here. And we're going to use one of these suggested prompts. And as you can see, because we're in the custom code section here, this is a great place to apply code that needs to be used either site-wide or in specific parts of your website. And we can do that by using the conditions over on the right-hand side here. I would like to add a Facebook pixel, and we conveniently have a prompt for that. So we can say, write an embed code of Facebook pixel. I'm going to expand upon this though, and I'm going to tell the AI that my Facebook pixel ID is, and I'm just going to make up a number here because I don't actually have one to hand. My Facebook pixel is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So hopefully it will generate the code and automatically add in my Facebook pixel ID as well. Now, when you generate any code, it's always worth double checking that it's actually code that works and is correct. So with a Facebook pixel, for example, this is very easy to quickly check. I would certainly recommend checking it on the first website that you add this to. But I've added lots of Facebook pixels over the years to websites, and this looks fairly correct to me. I would definitely check with some of my other pixel code first, but I can see that it's added in my ID here, which is great. I believe if I hadn't have entered that prompt, it would just say enter Facebook ID here. So it does tell you to do that, but you can just save yourself a step by adding it to the prompt first of all. So once you're happy, you can select insert, and then you can specify your display conditions, okay, and then publish your custom code whenever you're ready to. So that concludes the Elementor AI demonstration. If you have any questions, please add them to the chat. Even if you're not watching live, still add them to the chat and we'll monitor them and get back to you. And if you do have any feedback, please jump over to the official GitHub post and add your feedback there. It'd be very helpful for our developers. Okay, what is next? We've got CSS Grid. Okay, so I've got a page ready for this demonstration. Let me just open it up for you guys. We can get rid of the home page. So if you come from a development background, you're likely very familiar with CSS Grid. If you're not, you may have never heard of it. Okay, it basically is a way of creating a grid layout on a website. Okay, it pretty much does what the title of it says, all right, but it's very helpful. It's very fast, okay, way to develop websites, especially if you're building a grid layout. Now, this is phase 1, so we are still expanding on this feature. Okay, so in coming releases, we will add more into it, but we are definitely off to a very strong start here. Now, as you can see in the layout section on the left here, we do still just have a container. If I drop this into the page, okay, you'll see a new option here, which says container layout. Now, by default, it will enter a Flexbox container, but if I select the drop down, I can change that to a grid layout instead. Okay, so we have these two options now. We can either say Flexbox or grid. Let's get rid of this. We can also go from the plus icon And now when we press this, okay, we have a flexbox option and we have a grid option. And it doesn't matter which one you select here, there's a backwards arrow so you can get back, okay? So you can just check out what layouts are available, decide which one's right for you. We are obviously going to explore the grid layout. And with this selected, you can see that we have a few examples to choose from, which is extremely helpful. And I'm going to choose this one at the end here, which is a 3x2 grid. Now, when you insert a flexbox, a CSS grid, we see these dotted outlines, and you can see the grid outline option here. I'm going to turn this off for now, just while I do a demonstration and explanation of this. I'm also just going to adjust this slightly so that it's not sitting on the edges of the screen like so. Here we go. Okay, so it's important to understand that with a grid layout, okay, the items are added in order. Now, with the grid outline turned on, you see the available spaces because we have this set up to be 3x2. But actually, this first box is the only available box. And that's why when I turn the outline off, all of the other ones disappear. So if I was to add a widget to this, and I'm going to add the icon box widget, which I've saved as default with just this subtle background color and a little bit of padding. It sits in the first available space. And if I duplicate this, the widget is duplicated and then it sits in the next available space. And if I keep doing this, okay, it will just populate the next available space. With the grid outline turned back on, you may think that you have 2 available spaces here, and technically you are correct. However, what you can't do, if I go back to the widgets panel, is I cannot drop an icon box in this last grid item space. Okay, nothing happens if I try to do that. I can, however, drop one in this one here, and that's because it will only ever fill the next available space. And if we take a look in the structure, okay, we can see that we just have one container, and each item in that container is just an item. It's not sat within another container. And that is why we can only ever populate the next available space. If, for example, though, you decide that in this last box here, you need to add multiple widgets, okay, there is a way to do this. And the way to do it is by combining Flexbox container and CSS Grid. So if I now drop in a container in the last available space, and again, open up my structure, you can see that we have our icon box items, and then this Flexbox container here, which is also an item of the CSS Grid. I hope this all makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask questions and we'll respond as quickly as possible. But now I have a Flexbox container actually within my grid as one of my grid items. I can add as many widgets as I like. So I could add an image. I could add some text. I could add a button. Okay, whatever I want to add into there, okay, it will all fit within that that item's space there. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to create more of these as we continue to explain the CSS Grid. So with the CSS Grid selected, okay, and we're in the Layout tab here, let's go through the available options. Now, we selected a predefined layout of 3x2. We've since added additional items, okay, so it will just keep adding those items to the actual grid. Now, you might have noticed that we have a new unit here. And again, if you're not from a development background, that's absolutely fine. So you might not have seen this before, but FR, it stands for fraction or fractional, okay? And it's just a different way to specify the layout here. So we have this set to 3. Therefore, it's split into 3 columns, so 3/3. So 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And it's the same for the rows like this. And if we change this to 2, it will change to a 2-column layout. If we change it to 1, it will change to a 1-column layout. And I'm just going to pop that back to 3 like so. We can also amend the rows as well. And then we have this gap option here. So by default, we have a 20 pixel gap between the columns and the rows. We could change this for both of them like so to be 50 pixels. We do have additional units here as well that we can choose from. And we can unlink these as well and specify I believe I lost my connection, guys. I do apologize. I'm not sure where I lost my connection. I'm just going to check in with the comments to see where it may be dropped out, because I don't want you to miss anything. I can't see anything specific. Okay. I'm just going to backtrack a few steps in the hope that it was only 20 seconds. Thank you, Imran. I appreciate it. I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. And I believe I was explaining the fractional unit that we have here. And then I moved on to the gaps. So we can specify gaps between the columns and the rows. So we have a 20 pixel default value set here. We can amend this to be whatever we like it to be. So it could be in pixels or any different unit there. We can also unlink these values as well. Okay, so we could say we don't want any space between the rows like this. So lots of control with those sections there. The next part, we have auto flow. And for that, I just need to make a quick adjustment to these icon box widgets. And it won't take me long, so just bear with me. I just want you to see a visual change as I make this. So numbers are always a great way to do it. So our icon boxes are now numbered 1 to 9. And with the CSS grid selected, autoflow is set to row. And that means that the order of our CSS grid items will go from left to right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. If I change this to column, you'll notice that they now go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a column manner. And we also have justify and align item options there as well. My icon box widget is actually filling the available space, so clicking these won't actually change anything visually, but you do have that control if you so wish. Okay, so with that hopefully clearly explained for you, I've just got one last thing to go through with the CSS grid, and that is to go back to the unit here. And if I click the drop down, you'll see we can actually choose a custom size as well. So if I select this, we see our input box, and I am going to just start by saying 1 FR, okay, which, hold on. Give me the desired result that I was looking for. Here we go. So I'm just going to put 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, okay, which is going to give me that 3-column layout like so. Now, what I could do here is I could say that the second item needs to be 2 FR. So that's going to take up twice as much space, okay, as these items here. So you can see we can mix and match and really customize this aspect, okay, as much as we like. And that's not all. We could also mix values. So let's say we want 1 FR, 1 FR, and then on the last one, we want it to take up 50%. So I've mixed units here. So we've got fractions and we've got percentages all working together. And as you can see here, the third column, because 1, 2, and 3 is taking up 50% of the available width, and then the others are taking up the remaining space like so. We could also specify exact values. So I could say 300 pixels. And when you do this, you want to make sure there's always a space between each value. Now our icon box widgets are only taking up 300 pixels in width. We'll leave the row as it is. But with this custom icon selected, we now have these options here as well. So justify content. And this is the same if you entered a custom value for rows as well. You'll see align content opens up there. I'm actually just going to leave that as it was. But with the custom icon selected, we can now justify our, I've really messed this up now. Let's get this back. Let's get this back to normal. There we go. 300 pixels, 300 pixels, 300 pixels. So with the custom icon selected, we can now justify our content. Now, by default, it will be set to start, but we could tell it to be in the center. At the end, we could do space between, space around, and space evenly. And obviously that works exactly the same for rows. You just need to make sure that you have the appropriate height for it to actually expand and contract, etc. So that concludes the CSS demo. I apologize again about the technical difficulties in the middle there. Hopefully you didn't miss too much. If you did, please let us know in the comments and we can cover it again. We are now going to move on to the menu improvements. So I am going to jump out of this page. In fact, let's just save my changes here. And we are going to open up a different page. So a couple of improvements have been made to our new menu widget. Hopefully you've had a chance to play around with this. It's a great addition to the product. Okay, it does allow you to build mega menus, which is always exciting. Not that we're going to be doing that today. But there was an issue before where users were using anchor links. Okay, and what was happening was they were using the anchor links, but the active states were not being applied. Okay, so if you had a one-page website, for example, and you selected a link in the menu and it took you to that section of the page, the active state was not being applied. But that has now been fixed, and I've created this simple page to just demonstrate that. So we have the menu widget at the top here, and if I expand these items, you can see that they have all been configured to have an anchor link. So we have the hashtag symbol or pound symbol followed by the ID of the section. And this is true for each of these items. So section 1, section 2, section 3. And if I scroll through my page, I have these full height sections, which, as you can see in the advanced tab, have all had an ID applied to them, which matches the item in the menu, like so. I won't go through them all, there's no need. Now, the menu works on hover. So as you can, hopefully you can see this, as I hover over that item, it turns blue, and it should stay blue when active. So the anchors won't work in the actual Elementor editor. So let's save my changes and let's preview them. And let's see how this works. So if I select section 1, it will scroll to section 1. And as you can see, it stays blue. And if I do section 2, it stays blue. Section 3, it stays blue. So that is now working as expected, which is great to see. And then there's one other addition to the menu, and that is the ability to now add icons for normal and active states. So let's see how that works. So I've got section 1 opened here, and we have the icon down the bottom here. We can upload our own custom SVG, or we can select an icon from the library like so. So I'm going to do this. So let's choose the circle and insert. And with that selected, we now have an active icon option open up here. So again, from the icon library, I'm going to choose this circle that has a check mark inside it like this. And I'm going to do this for each of them. So this is item number 2. We'll choose the circle, the active icon, we'll choose the check mark. And then section number 3, we'll do exactly the same. And there we go. So now it's now publish, and then refresh our preview. So all of our menu items currently have an empty circle, but once we scroll to them, you can see they then switch to that check mark. So another great addition to an already great widget, which is only ever going to get better and better and better. So super exciting to see that. Okay, so let's now move on to the interface. All right, we have this new top bar, which has been completely rebuilt in React. Okay, we just had phase 1. We're now into phase 2. So we've got some additions here to explore. This won't take long. The first addition, okay, is we now have options in the drop down here. So we can now save our draft and save as template as well. And if I open up any template file, so I'm going to open up the header, we also see display conditions there as well. So we now have those options, okay, which are going to just help us work a lot faster. The other great addition that we have to the top bar, okay, is the page navigation. So this drop down arrow here, if we select this, we now see the 5 most recent items that we were working on. And as you can see, we've got pages and we've got template items there as well. So it pulls in both of those. So this is going to be incredibly valuable. Okay, it's going to really streamline your workflow. How often are you flicking between the same pages and templates? I know I am all the time. So this will bring up the previous 5 ones that you've been working on. So if I want to jump back to my CSS Grid page, just one click, okay, and then I'm back in there and I can just continue working. So some great additions there to the top bar and the interface. Okay, let me just tidy up my screens a little. All right. What is next? We've got excerpts in loops. So we are going to need to open up our home page for this one. And I have a loop grid here, okay, which is being populated with my most recent blog post. We've got a featured image, we've got the title of the blog, we've got the excerpt of the blog, and then the read more button here. Now, if I edit this template and select the excerpt widget, okay, we don't see much here, okay, we just see post excerpt and then we see the actual excerpt. Now, you know, you may fully understand this already, but just in case you don't, where is this information coming from? Okay, people aren't always aware where this information is coming from or how to get it there. And it's a really common thing we see in WordPress, and it's absolutely fine. And let's learn about it today. So if I jump back into my dashboard and then go to the posts of my website, very conveniently titled The Rise of AI in Web Design post here. If I edit this post, and then if I make sure that I have post selected in the top right hand corner and scroll down, you'll see this option here. And it's so hidden, no wonder people miss it. It's really out of the way, but you can see that I do have a snippet of text in here. And this is just the first sentence from my article. Now, this is where this widget is currently pulling that information from. So if I was to change this text, let's just delete everything apart from in fact, let's write artificial intelligence is really cool. Let's update this post. Let's update our template. Let's let this load. As you can see, my post is now displaying artificial intelligence is really cool. And that's because it's pulling the information from this excerpt. Well, we want it to pull information from the actual post itself, and we want to be able to specify how much of that post we display. That's the type of control that we really want. So how do we do that? It's really easy. Let me show you. So again, with post selected, we want to now make sure this is empty. Okay, so more often than not, it is empty anyway. But if it's, you know, if you have added a snippet of text in there, delete it. Okay, let's get rid of it, and then let's save our post. Now, back in the Elementor editor, again, I'm just going to refresh, just because I've made a change to the actual post itself. We now have a blank widget. That's because there's no information to pull through. So with that widget selected, if we now select the wrench icon, we can specify to apply to post content. If I turn this on, it now pulls through the entire blog post, which is obviously a little bit too much. But we have this control here where we can specify how much we would like to show. So this is defined by characters. So let's say 100. Let's see what that does. In fact, I think it's words, not characters. My mistake. That's too many. Let's go for 25. That's definitely about right. Oh, I've just scrolled up on my mouse. Bear with me. There we go, 25. Much better. So this is actually pulling the content from our blog post here. So any text that we have here, this will automatically pull through. But that's not all. We can also go to advanced, and we can state if we would like to add any text before the excerpt or even after. So maybe you want like a ... at the end. You can just pop that in the after part there. And if I now publish this, okay, all of my blog posts, as long as the excerpt is empty on the blog page, okay, will display this information there. So another great addition to the Elementor editor there. Okay, a couple of small things now, which aren't going to take long at all. We've had, in fact, let's just jump back into our page. We've made some improvements and additions to the color picker. So if I select a widget, so let's select this first heading and then go to the style tab. If I select the color, we can now see that we have additional values at the bottom here. So we have the default hexadecimal value, which is always going to be selected first. But we can now also choose or switch between RGBA or HSLA. So depending on what your preference is or what your designer's preference is or what your design tools are outputting, okay, you can now just paste in these values, okay, into the Elementor editor, and it will automatically convert them, okay? So if you're curious to know what the RGBA value is for this particular hexadecimal value, you can just select that and then copy, paste. How many times have you opened up Photoshop or searched for a converter online? I know I have a lot of times, okay? So very, very helpful to see that added natively into the product there. And then we also have some additions to the favorites panel. So if I open up the elements panel here, okay, we used to always see favorites at the top, and it used to be an experiment that you could turn on or off, and it is now part of the product. Okay, there's no option to switch it on and off, and we fully understand that not everybody uses it. Okay, I personally really like to use it. I find it incredibly helpful to have a favorites panel there of commonly used widgets. But if you're somebody that doesn't like to use it, you can see that we have a message here. So for easy access, favorite the widget you use most often by right-clicking and add to favorite. So once you've clicked this, okay, that message will disappear. And now if I right-click any widget and add to favorites, only then will I see this favorites option at the top here. And I can add as many as I like to this. So let's just add all of these. And as you can see, the favorites panel has returned. All right, so if you are somebody that likes to use it, all you need to do is add a widget to the favorites panel and it will show. And if you happen to change your mind and delete all of the favorites, it will then just disappear. So there we go. Okay, I'm just going to double check I haven't missed anything from the previous points. Bear with me, and now let's move on. So alongside all of these amazing additions to Elementor, okay, we also have a lot of performance improvements. So the development team are always working hard, okay, to make the product perform better. This time round, the focus has been on inner pages of Elementor mostly, okay. And what they've done is they've added lazy load support to 3 widgets, which are the author box, the post info, and the price list widget. Okay, so those 3 widgets all use images in one way or another, whether it's a profile picture, okay, or a separate image, okay, and we now have lazy load support added to those. The other notable change, okay, is to the header template. If you have enabled lazy load background, the lazy load background image experiment, okay, this has now been removed from the header. And the reason for that is because the header statistically is always above the fold. So we don't want that background image to be loaded lazily. That should appear instantly for the user. Okay, so that has been removed. And then the final thing we have, which I've already mentioned earlier on, is a lot of accessibility improvements, which there are just too many to list here and for me to go through. So I do encourage you to just take a few moments, okay, to read the official GitHub post to explore those accessibility improvements. Okay. And that concludes the live walkthrough of Elementor Beta 3.13. So hopefully you found that valuable. If you have any questions, please add them to the chat. Jump over to the official GitHub post. But yeah, let us know about your experiences. The more information we can get about your experiences, the better. And I thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye now.